people, and particularly men, can get lulled into a false sense of actually dealing with things because they're just doing all the things. Addicted to intense exercise, addicted to the ice bath. But what I am interested in is if someone can actually sit in the yucky feelings that come up, sit there and breathe and go, it doesn't have to be perfect.
You've done a lot of work with men and women as a physio. You've done a lot of breath work, a lot of yoga, a lot of spirituality. What do you think men are craving the most?
Well, superficially getting their ego stroked. Feels great. It feels great. You know what? Being held, to be able to be with someone that's strong enough to hold it down and actually hold you, to allow you to just break down or let go, man, that feels amazing. If a man is honest enough with themselves and strong enough within themselves, then they're not afraid to be vulnerable.
Cam, welcome.
Thank you, Ryan. Good to be here, man.
Pleasure, man. So, look, you've done a lot of work with men and women as potentially as a physio. You've done a lot of breath work, a lot of yoga, a lot of spirituality.
Yeah.
So, why do men need to heal?
Oh, well, again, I think men and women need to heal. I think if we look at the statistics, it would suggest that men aren't doing such a good job at it, with suicide rates super high. I think it's sort of 75% men. So I guess it's a conditioning thing and a societal thing. In that, there's just a lot of work to be done, and I think there's a lot of confusion out there. About what it is to be a man in society today, and that creates a lot of perhaps inner conflict, inner turmoil, and a lot of unhappiness, perhaps. So, what does it look like to be a man these days here? I think that that's a good question. The balance between being strong and grounded, authentic, yet creating that safe place for others, whether it's men or women, is a big one, I think. Rather than getting caught up in the natural alpha off and the power struggle and all that stuff that naturally happens in the jungle out there. It's an interesting one, isn't it? What do you think? In terms of what it means to be the man these days? Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of traditionally what call it our grandfathers, etc. Yeah, they went through that. They embodied a lot of masculinity in terms of doing hard work, showing up, being disciplined, being resilient. I think being very clear on your purpose. Yeah, that's right. And I said being very authentic, being very unshakable with, I guess, the authenticity of who you are. That's not getting pulled in different directions. I think so that's someone that you can they can really lead, and they can lead a family, friends, partner. Yeah, they can create that safety. That's right. Being dependable. Someone who if you say you're going to do something, doing that, and so being trustworthy is a big one. And perhaps that gets a bit murky out there sometimes as well. I think the skills, like a lot of the old school aspects, they were great, but then I feel like the 2.0 version of being a man is developing the soft skills of empathy, emotional intelligence, these sort of things. It's not that men have to necessarily... there's elements of softening up, but they don't have to be soft as such. They just need to be... more in touch and develop that intelligence. That's emotionally. Right. Yeah, the vulnerability piece is a big one. I chat with a lot of men who are kind of leaders in the space, and I remember at one point there was almost a line in the middle whether the guys were saying, yes, men need to be vulnerable and they need to show that we can be vulnerable and still show up. Being honest, authentic, and not being afraid to
express any shortcomings or whatever it might be. That if a man is honest enough with themselves and strong enough within themselves, then they're not afraid to be vulnerable. And then that actually, I believe, helps. It helps, I think, bring in people around them to then express their honest truth. So otherwise, everyone's wearing this kind of mask. And that's a big one out there, I think, is men with this mask on, trying to puff themselves up a little bit in this kind of, pissing contest out there.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a pissing contest can come about in many ways. It's not even just a physical alpha. I mean, it can come in the ways of validation these days, from materialistic, no matter how much money you earn, how much, what sort of house, what sort of car, what sort of anything, how many women I can be with, what my missus looks like, all these sort of things that just detract us from, the essence of what really matters.
That's right. Yeah. So the process of a man learning who he really is, I think that's the big process, because we do get a bit caught up in the ego, of course, and the ego is obviously going to be tied up in all of the things and all the material things. And then, and it's always a balance, because it's like there's nothing wrong with having a nice car and a nice home and nice clothes, because there's a certain level of, if I work hard and I deserve these things, and I might as well enjoy some of the beautiful things that life has to offer. That's not necessarily pumping up my ego. That's just enjoying some of the beautiful things that life can offer. But it's just about being honest with yourself and knowing that, well, you're not those things, and those things aren't the things that are going to validate you and perhaps give you a role in society that's going to make you feel the way you think you're meant to be feeling at any point in time. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I heard Will Smith saying you have two types. You have obviously rock bottom, that's where a lot of growth comes from. There's a lot of people familiar, we've all been there.
Yeah.
But he talked about like cliff top.
Oh yeah, at the peak.
At the peak where he hit that, he literally got every single thing you could possibly want in terms of materialistics, that sort of world, and the validation, and the emptiness and the pain that he went through was the equivalent of rock bottom. But when he had everything, and just that's sort of, as you said, like, I love nice shit as well.
It's great.
And I love nice shit.
It'd be a shame not to enjoy that, and that's where, there's always polarities, and the spiritual world sometimes gets a bit caught up in, we'll push away all the stuff, which it'd be a shame to miss out on some of those aspects of life as well. If you work hard for these things, there's nothing wrong with those things,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think as long as you value them,
that's
enjoy
right.
them.
Yeah.
If you genuinely enjoy things, if you're a car dude and you've got the resources and you do it, go for it.
That's right. Enjoy it.
There is some happiness with that.
There's some enjoyment. That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you're not much for a car dude, then you think, I need this to fit into this group, and I need this as a signaling sort of status signaling technique.
Yeah.
Or a certain watch or certain this, just to be accepted or be approved. That's when there's a tipping point where I think if you've got that self-awareness, it's no issue. But when you don't have the self-awareness, which is, I find, a pretty common thing.
That's the big one. Yeah, just being able to see those little bits within yourself. It's a big one. But again, I think it comes back to honesty, authenticity, and again, if we're talking about what it takes to be a man and a good man, in integrity, which is a big one. Yeah.
In terms of brotherhood and that sort of aspect and being vulnerable, how can a man heal?
How can a man heal? Well, that's a good question. I think the brotherhood helps, having people around you. I think it takes a village. I really believe that, and no one should necessarily walk the path alone. And However, some of it does need to be done alone too. You have to learn about yourself outside of all of the advice, because you'll find lots of people that will give you all of the advice. I think a big thing out there at the moment, for people that have become really off track, they've gotten some good advice, and the ice baths and the saunas and the big breathwork sessions are all incredibly powerful and incredibly healing. What I see is a lot of the time, people can still be pushing away the things that are causing the inner conflict. So it's like you have the ice bath and you feel amazing. First of all, it's a great distraction from whatever's going on in your life. It's freaking cold. So you kind of have to overcome that sensation, and you reach a deep state of presence and maybe quite a meditative state. And then you get out and we know that you're flooded with all the dopamine. So you feel great. And then you walk away and think, I'm feeling pretty bloody good. And then you've got your gym session, and then that makes you feel really good as well. But I believe people, and particularly men, can get lulled into a false sense of actually dealing with things because they're just doing all the things, addicted to intense exercise. And I love CrossFit, addicted to the ice baths, and I love ice baths as well. They're awesome. But what I am interested in is if someone can actually sit in their shit, sit in the yucky feelings that come up, and actually just sit there and breathe and go, it doesn't have to be perfect, and just understanding that, they can kind of sit and breathe through it and sit with the shit and kind of grow through that. That's a big one, I think, is actually learning to just sit in stillness with yourself and slowly work on respecting the person that you see in the mirror. Because I think when you get to the point where you can look at that person in the mirror and go, that's a man of honesty and authenticity and integrity, then, we're moving along the path of healing. And there's lots of things like positive self-talk in the mirror, and that's good, like pump yourself up, and that's really good. But you want to mean that, you want to hope that's honest, because there's the whole toxic positivity thing. And
which is a real thing.
It's a real thing. And that's not necessarily always the most helpful thing, because you can do all the kind of rah-rah pumping up, yet there's still this kind of knot of discomfort in your core. So, I'm a huge advocate for yoga, and my older brother Stuart Watkins has been an incredible mentor in that space, and he's a beautiful yoga teacher and a beautiful husband to his wife and mother to his beautiful daughters. And he's been a great kind of paving the way for learning to sit with it all. And through the practice of yoga, you kind of quiet everything down, and with your attention and with the breath, you kind of work through those little knots of inner conflict and inner turmoil, and see all your stuff, and realize that you're not those things. You might have had some experiences and they might be causing you lots of guilt. But it's all just the path of learning and becoming who you're working your way to becoming, and that's just a process. It's a process, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things that just takes time, and you can't. Yeah. Things you can do I guess keep on course, not to accelerate. There are things you can do to accelerate, but you can't fast track it too much.
You can't fast track it, and there's no specific. It's going to take a different amount of time for it. It definitely takes longer for men than women, it seems. I feel like,
and in particular, the start of the journey.
Yeah, that's right.
What age do you reckon guys commonly start at?
Well, spiritually speaking, there's this period of time called the return of Saturn, Saturn returns, and we won't go too far into that stuff, but it's kind of said from like 28 to 30 to somewhere in there, that whole process happens where the man comes out of those boyish, charming times of the 20s and has been playing around and doing whatever, and maybe a lacking of responsibility, and then you enter that manhood in those early 30s. I think that's still pretty early. I think it's all, with society and everything, it's all been pushed back a little bit.
Agree.
You know, I think maybe our ancestors, it was all happening probably 10 years earlier or something like that, maybe longer, but...
They probably only lived to 40 as
well.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's all been pushed back.
It's relative, yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of all the confusion out there at the moment. Yeah.
I find a lot, it's just this purely anecdotally speaking around my experience. I find for most guys, it's around that mid-30s.
Mid-30s.
To 40.
That's the sweet spot,
40, almost like 30, 34, 35 to like 40.
Yeah.
And I think we all go, whether you're a single guy, you're married, you've got a partner, you've got kids, they're saying it happens, call it a fucking midlife crisis. I don't know what it is, but like it's saying it happens. I've seen it, observed it, I've gone through it myself. I've seen virtually all my mates go through it in different ways. Yeah. And it's just it's almost this I guess you just look at the way that you're running your life and go, what the fuck am I doing?
That's right.
And then that can be the catalyst for, some change of delving in deeper. Do I want my next 10 years, 20 years to look like this?
That's right.
Or even just like, who the fuck am I?
Yeah, you got to ask that question. Yeah. And that's about getting to the core of who you are outside of all of the conditioning of who you think you're meant to be. Mm. And so it's about really getting to the core of what feels right. So, a lot of cliche ideas of finding your truth or whatever. But yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the mid-30s is a really potent time. Mm. So for any of those 20-year-olds that are heading into 30 and they're thinking it's all over, it hasn't even begun.
Exactly right.
It's just getting started, and the good stuff really starts churning along early 30s, mid 30s, and then the 40s are something to be excited about. I believe because it takes a while to get your shit together and get really clear on who you are. And then the ability to communicate that clearly and create that kind of safe space, where people want to be around you, and then you get into the sweet stuff. Then I think
definitely,
yeah,
and you're right. You definitely need periods of brotherhood, but you need periods of solitude.
Yeah, both.
And a lot of, I find particularly a lot of married men with kids.
Yeah,
they don't actually get either.
Yeah.
Do you see that a lot? Where they have their career, it takes a lot, and then got family life.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it's just kids, family, career. And then
it's tricky, man. Yeah. And you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself in a relationship. You can lose yourself, I would say, in that married with kids thing. I think a lot of guys would do that. I take my hat off to anyone really holding it down as a young man with a wife and kids, because that's something to navigate. And a lot of guys get so caught up in that they're either doing such a good job as husband and father that they've moved a little too far away from what they need to be doing for themselves, or they're doing not such a good job as husband and father because they're really, so it's like finding that sweet spot is tricky, man. Yeah. So that's where I really take my hat off to anyone who's holding that down well. And then looking back, at my past, where I'm now, I'm now starting to feel like, yeah, that'll be amazing to go and experience that, married and kids and do all that stuff, because I feel ready, or at least closer to being ready within myself. I look back, I wasn't ready before, I wouldn't have been ready, so I've made mistakes in the past, and you fuck around and try figure some stuff out along the way. But the truth was, I was a young dude trying to figure some stuff out, and I had to make some mistakes to learn from, and that's okay, So it's an interesting one. But yeah, on the healing thing as well, I think something that doesn't get enough airtime is actually even going talking to a professional. I had a period of time chatting with a clinical psych, and I found that process really helpful. He was a sort of a middle-aged man, and he was super helpful, because you're able to chat through things and see your thought patterns in terms of what actually might not be so helpful. So it's like, in terms of that, it takes a village. It's like the brotherhood, all the things, the ice bath, the exercise, the good food, and then really chatting to, I think, some different people, mentors, professionals, whether it's a counsellor or a psych or someone who's just walked the path, and you respect where they're at, and they might be able to help you kind of move along as well.
Definitely. And I find a lot of the difficulty, some men, I'm talking from my own experience, I took about probably 3 to 4 years of knowing that I needed help before I seeked help.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was from like shame.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was like, I don't want to see a female practitioner.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do I want to see a psychologist? And I was like, the things that were going on and different
Shame's
things.
a big one. Yeah,
big
man.
One, yeah, for sure. And I then you just buried deeper and deeper into your pattern until I hit a tipping point. And I just met the right person at the right time. And I was like, and there was, I'm someone that I need to have some form of evidence that someone is who they say they are.
True.
And that there's some runs on the board. I mean, that can come from social proof from someone I know.
Yeah.
Like if someone's going to a chiro, physio, if you trust someone, they're like, no, this guy's actually good. That
goes a long way.
Yeah, it goes a long way rather than, and for me, a lot of how I viewed the spiritual healers, and I thought, this is just like, I remember what I used to be like, this fucking ridiculous.
We were garbage.
And I know a lot of guys built like me in my mindset, particularly how it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago. They'd be like, they're going to miss out on healing and working through their shit because it's almost like the right person isn't there.
That's
or they're
right.
not open for the right person.
100%, man. You gotta do your research and do a bit of looking around, a bit of shopping around.
Yeah.
And just because I resonated with a male psychologist doesn't mean that a female professional or mentor or coach type person wouldn't be super helpful as well. But yeah, you need to look in lots of different areas. I don't think there's just one thing that sorts everything out.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Plus it's an ongoing process. So for me, that's where having a consistent practice, whether it's a meditation, yoga, mindfulness, or just coming back to yourself and checking in with yourself somewhat regularly, probably the more the better, then you can continue to go, all right, is everything lining up? Am I acting in a way that's in line with that truth? Yeah, it's a process. And like we were chatting about before, you continue to refine, you continue to dial in what that is and what makes you feel really good,
Definitely.
Yeah.
What do you think men are craving the most?
That's a good question. Well, superficially getting their ego stroked. Feels great. It feels great. And then deeper than that, you know what? I have to say something that was huge for me and in my relationship with Em, being held. It was so beautiful, man. And it is so beautiful all the time. It also, Em came along just before my dad passed away, which was 12 months ago on Friday. And to be able to be with someone that's strong enough to hold shit down and actually hold you, to allow you to just break down or let go, man, that feels amazing, And what I didn't realize until that point, or until feeling that, okay, I can actually just let go here and allow myself to sort of surrender and be held. And I don't have to be this perfect, super strong man all the time. I realized that in the past I felt like I did, and I never felt like I could fully just break down and let go, because perhaps I wasn't in a position where I felt comfortable or safe enough to do so. So I don't know if that's the thing that men need the most, but it's beautiful to be able to do that. So whether that's I've always also been lucky with really amazing people around me that I could just chat completely open to, without the shame. Because if you want to have a deep conversation, chat, and the shame's there and the guilt's there, you'll only ever get out of any chat, even with a professional, you only ever get out what you put in, what story you're willing to share. You can tell them whatever version of the story you want, but you'll only get out so much. But to be fully honest, to be fully vulnerable and let go, and know that space will be held, whether it's by your partner or by the brothers or by family or friends or whatever. It feels so good to be able to do that. So that's really healing.
And most of the time, I think we create the story that their reactions are going to be a lot worse than what they are. What I mean? On occasions, they are bad reactions.
Yeah.
And these are people that probably don't have the capacity to be able to handle things. But in general, most people who are around you in your circle would be pretty open to to that shame and guilt and resentment.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it takes a lot of emotional intelligence, and that's where I'd really recommend people go out and do things like the mental health first aid and stuff like that. Have you heard much about that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, man. I did one a couple of years ago with a brother, Benny Broadbridge, and man, that was a game changer, because it gives you tools to help navigate the conversation when someone is putting out little hints that they're struggling. So I think things like that, if people don't feel that they have the tools or the capacity to hold space for someone when they're going through it, things like that are really good. It's definitely a set of skills to be able to hold space well for people that are going through some difficult situations. But I do think that's one thing that men really need is to know that they have the people around them that they can fully let go to.
In terms of identifying when guys are struggling, what are some of the nuances that you now look for that most people would miss?
Yeah.
Because there's definitely stuff there.
I think just like when you ask someone how they're going, then wait for the response. It's just such a classic thing in society. How you going? Good? Cool. Next thing. And it's like the actual, how are you?
It's the pleasantries.
Honestly, how you going? Good? And it's like, you haven't even given me a chance to answer. How you going? Good? It's like, it's so funny when you hear that, and it happens so much, and, loss of eye contact, looking around, having a beer or whatever, and it's not actually a conversation. So I think a lot of people out there aren't actually that good at having a conversation and ask a question and then sit back and open it up and let them feel into it and chat into it. And a little bit of space and time can go a long way, because if they might be dropping hints and you might not be actually picking them up. And I think a lot of guys out there aren't so good at that. And you have the piss ups, or you have the get togethers, and some guys might be struggling. And there's a lot of guys out there struggling, even if it's they've found the girl, they're trying to have a baby, and that's not happening, and they're having a hard time because they're struggling to fall pregnant, or they can't find the girl, or they're unhappy in a relationship. It's just endless. And when you say, how's it going with the relationship? Good. And you don't even necessarily give them, they'll just go, yeah, good. And so I think, looking, actually at them but softening even the body language thing, it's like not trying to be the big alpha and direct it, just like soften a little bit, allow them to open up, give them that space to do that. And it's an interesting one, and I think that's a nuance is being a strong, safe, masculine energy that they can feel that you're going to be able to hold it down, and part of that trustworthy thing is It's unconditional support, unconditional love. If someone feels that with you, that's so beautiful. You know, it doesn't matter what someone has done. You know, I'm willing to sit with them judgment free and listen, and I think people sense that, and they quickly get a sense that they can open up, and yeah, I'm all for it. I'm always here for a good old deep chat.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's good fun.
Such a difference. Yeah,
it's good fun. I love it.
Yeah, so I only probably started going down that probably 3 years ago, where I started having that with men.
Oh man,
I didn't before, and I was missing out on so much.
So much. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm like, let's get into the yucky stuff. You know, it's into the awkward like shit, and yeah, you gotta be here for it all. Yeah,
it's funny when you do men's circles or anything of the like, and people are sharing. You can see when you get a guy who really for that first time starts like how uncomfortable
the resistance, huge resistance,
starts coming out, and once it starts coming out, like the weight that gets lifted off their shoulders, and especially like once they go through it themselves. And then they see the guy three people down. He's got the same shit going on. And then someone else
beautiful.
Who's like the 10th guy's got the same. And then he just realizes, oh shit, I'm not alone.
And that's one of the biggest things. And I feel that often comes from a really effective, powerful men's circle, is that full vulnerability and sharing. I remember running a men's circle at Centre Space, and just leading up to it was this conversation around, do we be vulnerable as men or do we not? And whether there was that confusion. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to start this off. And we were passing the talking stick around, but I started it off, and I just broke down. It was a few months after Dad had passed away, and I was like, things are tough. I'm having a rough time, and I'm feeling it all. And I just had a good old cry, and then everyone just beautifully held that space, and then it just created a domino effect. Everyone just started popping off. It was
Look what you did, Cam.
Mate, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Set off Niagara Falls.
Let's go. I'm here.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's just, it's amazing when you have that permission. With something I always wrestle a bit, and I say have this conversation with many guys, and you go, in terms of the level of vulnerability, and vulnerability can come in the way of just obviously opening up in terms of communicating where you're at. It can be actually, going to that place where men are crying. A lot of guys, they feel it's not right to cry in front of their partner.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
But they feel like it is okay to, cry in front of their brothers.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And I think it's a damn shame if someone doesn't feel that they can break down in front of their partner, because your partner is your partner in crime, and you got to know that they're going to be able to, be with you, alongside you, hold you through thick and thin, because if you're in for the journey together, it's gonna have its rough spots. There's gonna be times where things get hard, and if you have to maintain this perception of, bulletproofness, then you're not being real. I think that authenticity is, you have to be completely real. You have to be able to be completely real with your brothers, yes, and with your partner. And for me, you need to be with someone who is going to hold you unconditionally, and not, if you're with someone that judges you for crying, if you're with a partner that questions your masculinity because you cry over something, then in my mind, you'd have to question whether you're with the right person. But I'm not telling people who they should be with and who they shouldn't be with. But for me, if you can't be fully honest, fully open, and fully vulnerable with your partner, then who can you be with? It's an interesting one. Again, the vulnerability thing, and like so many things, I do think setting is like part of it.
I was just going to say, there's caveats associated. It's not just fully.
No. There's a time and a place.
Yeah,
and it needs to be the right setting, the right people, the right time. So as much as I'm saying men need to be vulnerable, you need to feel into if it's with the right people at the right time that you can fully let go, because you don't know where those other people are at, right? And you might think this is a great opportunity to break down, but you're with people that don't have the emotional intelligence to actually hold that space, and then they get caught up in all their conditioning and they tighten up in response. So it's like, I believe when you feel into your setting and the people that you're with or the person that you're with, and you feel that safety, then it's a perfect opportunity to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the environment and the people is the caveat.
It is.
Yeah. Even with a partner, anyway, this is just my take
No,
of things.
please.
Yeah, like I've always had, look, I've been more single short-term relationships, had about 3 or 4 middle distance sort of relationships as well. So, but I'm at a point where I'm middle of the road, where I'm seeking, and I've done that world in spades for a few generations. And then, but in the end I was like, look, I really want to, have a family and develop something more, of more fulfillment.
Cool.
And depth. So, but whereas for me, since I haven't been in long-term relationships since I've gone and done my own healing journey.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. So I've really stepped back a lot, almost gone too far the other way, because I knew my ways were so damaging before.
Not working.
So much conditioning to how I was running my life before that I was just like, no, you can't do it. And I've done very well going the other way. And then it's about like allowing him to come back.
The pendulum swing.
Reintroduce back to society.
The pendulum swing. You gotta go both ways a little bit, and then you find your little sweet spot there.
Exactly right. So for me, I don't know, this my own bullshit, but I always thought, and I guess this is probably with my own bias, that I haven't been in long-term relationships since I've been in this headspace as well. But I always feel that it's almost like your brothers are the ones that you have, if you're having a real weak moment,
go for it.
You go for it.
Yeah.
But there's almost conditional, this is my own
with
bullshit,
the partner.
but there's, conditional with the partner, that there's things that they're seemingly okay, or like you can have moments where it's overwhelmed or something's hard, but you sort of have to really have that moment, dust yourself off and be seen to, get on with it.
Have your shit together.
Not be, I guess, not just be lost, diabolical, you know what I mean? And be too, in a way that, I don't know, what are your thoughts on feeling? Do you feel if a guy is too lost for too long and he doesn't have his moment and then start to be proactive, or at least attempt
100%, man.
The woman can almost feel like she's not safe in his
That's
leadership.
right. Yep, I would agree with that. But, if a person is so lost, so broken, so rock bottom, then of course there will come a point in time where the partner might be like, it's time to get your shit together. I need a man that's going to be able to hold this shit down. Absolutely. But and probably being with Em, who is a psychologist, and she
How's
can.
that been?
It's been amazing, man. Not always easy.
I'm getting fucking profiled
dude. That's right. We butt heads pretty strong. We're both opinionated, and we're both strong, and we're both honest, and we're both not afraid of a strong conversation. and also she can see straight through it. Like if I'm not being fully honest, she'll pick it up straight away. But it's probably in her nature. She would want me to, if I need to have that moment of breakdown. And she respects me more for it because she sees that I hold it down and I've got my shit together, and I have enough self-esteem within myself that I don't feel that she's going to doubt my masculinity if I have a weak moment. And she would want me to have that weak moment with her more than anyone else. She would be devastated if she thought that I couldn't have that weak moment with her and she couldn't hold space for me during that time, and that I had to have that with the brothers. I think she would feel, that wouldn't go down well, you know. So in my mind, if you can't do it with her, that would be a damn shame, because you go on the journey with them, and your brothers, yes, they're always going to be there, but they're not in your household every night, you know. And you just got to be, if we're saying what is it to be a man, full honesty, full authenticity and vulnerability, I think if you can't do that with your partner, that's a shame. That's my view. Okay. And it's worth checking that out, because I know there is that view that, you know, your partner will think that it's unattractive if you break down, or if you appear to not be able to hold it down at that point in time. But to be honest and say, I'm struggling, and to really let that come out, then they at least know that they're dealing with someone who's fully honest. And you might just need that moment of letting go and surrender to come back to it. And then you're able to communicate effectively and honestly what I might need going forward, that's going to help me to hold it down, you know. Because if you're having trouble and you're feeling like you're struggling to hold it down with some things, but you're coming home and exuding this image of being able to hold it down, well, then there's an incongruency of what's actually happening, and that's going to build up and build up and build up. You know, women are so, yes, sensitive, but so intuitive, and she'll know something's up, you know, and then she'll feel that, and that will create a barrier between your connection. So if you're completely honest, then you're able to have a really deep and strong connection. And chances are, if you're holding it down throughout areas of your life, then you certainly, you know, have a bit of leeway to have a little breakdown every now and then, you know, and it's got to be done, and it's very therapeutic. So I would say find someone who you can have a little breakdown with every now and then, you know. Chuck it on the list. Chuck it on the list.
A bit on there.
Yeah, good.
Right. Two words that I always like going into, but they sound great, and they are, but there's a big cost to them. One's growth and the other one's authenticity.
Oh yes,
and
good.
They're things that people...
They're hot words.
Yeah, hot words, and people love growth, they love authenticity, but both are they're very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And most people don't really truly embrace both.
Yeah.
Because they're so uncomfortable.
True.
So yeah, I'd like to talk about the cost of being authentic.
Oh yeah, well that's completely fair. So we've got a picture up on our wall in Centre Space, and it was a quote from Bob Marley, which was, "The truth may be offensive, but it's not an offence." You know, you may offend people, you may rub people up the wrong way with your authenticity, but they'll respect you for it, you know. And if you're honest, and that's been something for me to work on, because I think I probably had some people pleasing tendencies in the past. And you know, it's nice to be liked, and it's nice that people feel really comfortable around you, and someone who speaks the truth is not afraid to you know, say it how it is, despite the fact that it might offend someone. They're the people you want to be around, you know, because they're honest, and again, that's true authenticity. If something's not sitting right, and you have the courage just to say it straight,
especially like with love,
yeah,
from the right place. And
that's
you're
right.
not just being a authentic asshole.
Yeah,
look, which is a big difference between I just speak my mind and I'm authentic and I'm real,
but I'm a dickhead.
You're just a fucking dickhead.
That's right.
Yeah, and there's a big delineation between being just obnoxious and saying what you think, and actually, you know what I mean?
Spot on, man. And that's where when coming from the heart and coming from a place of love versus coming from conditioning and just being a dickhead and this is how we should be, and not being afraid to just be a dickhead and offend someone. That's different when you're coming from the heart and that place of love, and you're with your best interests at heart. Then that little bit of discomfort, and again that yucky, grimy, you know, uncomfortable conversation, that's where the best shit happens. And then the growth thing, you know, the yogic philosophy and Buddhism and Stoicism, it's in those uncomfortable, difficult circumstances where all the growth happens. So the yogic idea, you know, without the shit, there's no lotus flower. You know, it's in the mud, in the shit that the beautiful flower grows from. And it's you know, that's where when things get uncomfortable, things get a little bit awkward and yucky, then let's dig into that and let's explore that and have some deep conversations around that. You know, conversations and also with your own exploration, because it's those awkward, uneasy feelings that if you can explore and work through, you're able to kind of clear through it and you clean it up. And that's where a lot of growth happens, I believe. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Back to people pleasing.
Yes.
Where do you reckon your people pleasing ways came from?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I think we all want to be liked, and you know, we crave approval of others, and you know, it's a nice easy path when people just feel like you're going to say nice things to them all the time, and so I think I would have just got caught up in that default pattern of you know, yes to all the things, yes man, and yeah, that people pleasing tendency. Where did it start?
Anything from childhood?
I would say so. There's nothing like significant. I had a beautiful childhood, and yeah, but definitely it's been a process. Not being you know, afraid to rub someone up the wrong way. And not being, you know, the courage to be disliked. It's a whole thing, isn't it? Just being honest, being real. Take me or leave me. You know, it's a very powerful way to be. Yeah.
And you can't be responsible for how other people.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Especially when you're saying something from a good place. You're not trying to be an arsehole.
That's right.
Which is a lot of nuance if someone's not very self-aware.
That's right.
And the world needs more. Like disagreeable givers.
That's right.
You know, because a disagreeable giver, if you got a lot of them in your circle, they will be the ones going, man, I thought you said you're going to do this, cut this shit out. Hold you accountable, you know what I mean?
Part of a brotherhood, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
You don't want a bunch of disagreeable people that tell you amazing, you mess up, oh, it's all right, man, no worries.
No, you don't need that.
You need people who they actually genuinely give a shit. They're self-aware.
Yeah.
But they're willing to give you that. I mean, I always appreciate mates that
pull you
call me up. Yeah, absolutely.
It's the best, man. But yeah, spot on. You know, the classic, it's none of my business what other people think of me. That's been a big thing. Even things like social media, you know, posting things, you know, the space of putting things out there, overthinking how it's going to be received. It's like, this is authentic to me. Maybe, you know, it's been helpful to me. Maybe it's going to be helpful if someone reads it, you know, and if they don't like it, if their conditioning, it rubs them up the wrong way, that's fine. That's totally fine. You know, whatever. It might allow them to think about something, you know, so it's worthwhile.
Definitely. And you sometimes when you get called out pretty bad, it might be pretty offensive, and then you sit back. I've got a few people. I've got a woman who does some mentoring work with me, and most of my mentors are always men.
Yeah.
Like whether it's successful business guys or healers, they're mainly always men.
Yeah.
And she's a very, very successful entrepreneur and a counselor.
Yeah.
She's got a unique
very cool
attribute of, like, you know, it's almost got psychological like attribute in terms of skill set plus actual like successful, like very hard industry entrepreneurial skills. So she's got a very different perspective.
She's a beast.
Yeah, exactly right. And I started doing work with her. Then, my very first session with her, I met her once at her office, and it wasn't for doing any work. It was just, you know, she was working at a non-for-profit. I was just wanting to pick her brain about a few different things in terms of setting something up. And then I spoke with another mate. Thought, I might actually do a few sessions with her, just because whether it's, you know, business or internal work or whatever. And then my first session with her, she goes, oh, when I first met you, I thought you were an asshole. And I went, what? She goes, yeah, I thought you were just totally full of shit.
How'd that go down?
Yeah. And I was like, fuck. I go, I thought I was quite pleasant.
I thought I was all right. Yeah,
I thought I was all right. And she goes, she goes, I could just hear your energy coming in, and you're just, I'm looking to do this and that, and you didn't even bloody ask me about me. You're just talking about your big grandiose plans and like all this shit. And I was like, and I went, holy fuck.
It's good to hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to hear that.
She goes, the thing is, like, I thought you were an asshole, but like now that I've seen you here, you're more like settled. And where I was at then, well, there was a couple of different layers. I had a lot of chaotic shit going on, like just with work and did that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was just and that's my thing, is just putting too much and not regulating my nervous system.
Yeah.
And I can go from excitement projects to then boom, just that tipping point of putting too much on.
Yeah.
And when I'm like that, I know I'm not present.
Yeah.
With people, and I'm just fucking chaos.
It happens. It happens. But it's good to hear that.
It happens.
You had to hear that.
Yeah. And at the time I was like, fuck. And then, because I respect her as well. Whereas if that was someone I didn't respect, I probably wouldn't have taken it on. But because it's someone I respect, and if I do respect someone, they can just fucking give it to me.
Nice.
And I'm very coachable.
Let's go.
I'm a very coachable person.
Cool.
Yeah. If I really respect what they say, I'll go, I'll 100% take it on board.
Take it on board. Nice.
Yeah, and I got to sit with that, and then she's like, oh, well, now I know you're not an asshole. Like, at least if you're an authentic asshole, that's all right, because at least you would have been authentic. But she goes, I know you're not an asshole, but and then I had to sit back and go, I wonder how many interactions I've had with people where I thought went okay, and you're talking about your things you're excited about and your plans, and what I didn't realize is you just keep. Sometimes you talk about something you don't recognize how you're actually being perceived.
Well, that's right, and I've there's been a couple instances where I've just really rubbed people up the wrong way on that first interaction, and in your situation is a particular one, and but I've become good friends with the people, and then later on they said, man, when I first met you, I thought you were such a douche, like so cocky or whatever. But then I realized you were, you were confident in what you were doing or whatever. And then they grow to just, they grew to, became really good mates. But it was funny in later on learning that first interaction rubbed them up the wrong way.
It's always can be a bit of friction.
Yeah.
At the start. And sometimes other people just seamlessly works. But
that's right.
Yeah, but you need sometimes and it wasn't until I've done a few more sessions with her. We get along great, and it really helped. And she was like, because you're such a strong personality. And she's like, I had to give it to you.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Because for you can't be subtle with someone like me with things.
Well, that's
like that.
awesome.
Like the pattern break.
That's right.
And for something like that, I went, fuck. That made me go shit, and have that realization and wonder, over all my years, how many other times have I got excited about talking about things you're up to? You know what I mean? And
it's such a shame because you would have been flowing and feeling great, and it just was a clash. It was just a clash with that person. Yeah, totally. But it is a personality clash sometimes too. And
we get along great now. So, but it was just a necessary.
It had to happen.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's perfect.
Love it. In terms of just going back to a bit about your work as a physio, what have you learnt the most about people being a physio?
Certainly that everyone's just going through it. Everyone's going through stuff. Everyone is complex. Most people more. Some people more than others, but I'm dealing with people's bodies as you are. And so much of it is how is their mindset and their emotional situation and their stress affecting their presentation. Everyone's trying their best. Everyone really is. And a lot of people are confused and uncomfortable. But at the core of it is love. you know, and it's been such a big one is just coming back to that, even if they're appearing in a certain way and tough on the exterior and whatever, if they've got certain characteristics that are making their life difficult, it's conditioning and it's confusion, but you know, at the core of it all is that love, you know. So over my time, I've just learnt to, again, back to that non-judgment thing. I really have learnt to practice it, and I even if someone's a dickhead, you know, it's almost like, you know, what happened to them when they were young or something that's caused them to behave in such a way. What's the cause of it? So I don't go, they're a dickhead. I go, well, they're behaving in a bit of a funny way, but there's no judgment around it, you know. So I think that's a big one. You know, everyone's just doing their best, and yeah, that's a big one for me.
I agree with the stress component. And I think that's something that people who don't see, you know, that aren't in our sort of position, they like, you just see the effect that stress has on the body, on the mind. Like, people are like, a bit stressed, and particularly like women honor it a lot more than men. Men just like, because we do different like HIV testing and a couple of other things when people come in, and you just see these like patterns. We test for the sympathetic parasympathetic balance and HIV, and it just has a graph that maps out, and we redo that progress reports.
That's awesome, man.
And for me, it's a good tool in terms of, not that, you know, chiropractic, you know, can obviously get your nervous system functioning a bit better. That can help with that, but that's not going to be the vehicle that's going to massively impact that. But what that allows me to do is go, there's this other shit going on.
That's right.
That like lifestyle factors that are like messing you up.
100%.
You know, and bringing it back to them, from them going, okay, mechanical, bone, muscle, this is like, no. Like that's
tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's like a big thing that I keep drumming on about the clients. It's like, you got to manage your sleep, manage your stress, the lifestyle factors, like that you're sitting. I know you're a big man with movement. So if you can move more, manage your stress, and get better sleep, and generate better, like get those 4 fundamental things working, right?
It's everything.
Yeah, don't like have them as a shit show and then go, I'm just gonna, what exercises can I do? It's like it's like you push. It's like going to the gym and then grab a Macca's on the way home.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, you're going to be better than if you didn't go to the gym, but like get that fundamental pillar work.
It's everything, man.
Before you start worrying about all the other stuff.
It's everything. You know, I think generally speaking, you know, the majority of people are having a hard time navigating life at the moment. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of societal pressure, and social media and devices have just amplified the whole thing. Endless kind of comparison and everything like that. So there's a lot of unhappiness out there, and a lot of stress, emotional stuff that's contributing to the way they're feeling. So and again, that's a big thing where the yoga practice has been a big one for me, and with working with people, because you kind of learn through that practice to see all the things that are so unhelpful, and that are really causing someone to not feel so good, you know. So it's great what you're doing there. That's awesome, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
Man, why is there hostility between physios and chiros?
Look, I love. Okay, all right. This is a big one. It's like there is, and I think what you've just said that you're doing is amazing, and I think physios have a certain way of doing things, and there is like a slight different theory in a lot of the stuff. You know, me personally, I'm always open-minded, and one thing I also do is I never will speak poorly of another professional. I just won't. That's just like rule number one. I just won't do it. Whereas if I hear someone ragging off another professional, physio or chiro,
it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I don't like it. For me, that's just not the way to do things. What I don't like in, again, any professional, physio or chiro or osteo or whoever, if they're giving unhelpful education and leading the client or the patient to believe that they, if they don't have this service, then they're going to be in a really bad way. I think we all need to be providing good education, evidence-based education, and helping the client to feel empowered with their journey and with what you've talked about with monitoring and managing HRV with them and giving them all those holistic advice is amazing. But outside of that, I love it. I think I particularly love it when we all stay in our lane and do our thing. You're doing your thing down here. I love it. I'm doing my thing up there. We've got completely different ways of practicing. So there's absolutely no hostility there whatsoever.
No. In terms of, I know you individually not, but as a on a macro scale, in terms of the profession. Because I'm more than at peace with the hostility from the medical profession and from physiotherapists, because I'm comfortable with what I do.
That's right.
My thing I'm the same, man. I'm like, there's a small percentage of physios that are really good. There's a small percentage of chiros that are really good.
Yeah.
On the average chiro and the average physio,
very average.
100%. And that's like, and GPs. There's this very small percentage, probably even smaller percentage that are good.
Absolutely,
man. On average, most are very mediocre. Chiros or physios.
Yeah.
And like, if someone's cookie cutter, easy to sort out, I'm sure they can get some improvements going somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
But the thing is, the skill level required to get to like a high level in either, you have high levels in both, and
you got to be obsessed. You're
just constant development.
That's right. And you have to have that mindset of I really want to be an amazing clinician, and since deciding I wanted to be a physio, I was just obsessed, and I still am, I want to keep learning. I want to keep working on that. But there's a lot of people out there doing an average job, and whether they're physios or chiros or whoever, that's the thing. So I can safely say that there's no hostility.
No, it's likewise.
I got lots of good chiro mates, and I'm a big fan of what they do. But there are some physios out there who will just rag on chiros for sure.
And I refer to physios. Same thing. I think it's one of these things that I think there's a lot of. I feel like there's a lot of insecurity and scarcity within the health profession.
That's true.
On a macro, and that's from everywhere. There's a lot of ego, scarcity, and insecurity.
Yeah.
And I feel like the people, chiros or physios particularly, that I feel like they're very competent and they're good at what they do. They have a good practice. They don't slag people.
No, that's right.
And
you don't
they're the
need
ones
to.
that are, and when you think, why is that? It's like, it's because they're confident in themselves.
That's right.
They're confident in their client base. They get results regularly.
Yeah.
They've got a good business.
That's right.
People refer to them.
Great.
They're like, oh, well, shit's good here.
Yeah.
I don't care about what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas I find a lot of, health practitioners, they're getting this scarcity mindset. It's like, not everyone belongs to you.
No, that's
it's
exactly
like
right.
You're there for their results.
Yeah.
And, you may not be the best person to serve, or you might serve them for a period and they're happy and then they're off into the wilderness.
Exactly.
And then whatever, they go down there.
It's a flow of things.
Yeah,
that's right.
Effect. And I think, and a lot of practitioners, they take rejection poorly, but you don't. I always say to my guys who work with me, it's like, the most common reason people stop singing is because they feel they're pretty happy. They don't feel like they need to come back.
That's right, and that's fine. That's perfect.
Fine. And other people will be like, "Cool, I want to see you regularly." Cool, that's fine.
That's fine too.
It's fine too, as long as you're providing results, you're giving options for them,
and honesty. Always coming back
definitely.
to that.
I find that's always. Something that's pretty interesting, because I get asked all the time. People go, well, "What's the deal with physios and chiros?" I'm like, I said the same as you, man. I'm like, man, I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Yeah. There's more, like, even within my own profession, within chiropractic, there's so much diversity.
That's right.
In chiro,
so
like between philosophy, technique, ability, personality, how people run their consults and all these things. There's it's so difficult. If you found that one person, you're like, I really like that person, on find some of the same. Yeah, it's very difficult. Absolutely. So that's where it's hard as well to have. There's not much. The beauty of it, it's very diverse, but the problem is, it's very diverse.
Yeah,
so it's
the wild west out there.
Yeah. So If you had 3 exercises you could do and you could only do them for your mobility for the rest of your life, what would they be?
I reckon the signature is the big heart opener. It's like opening up like that, right? Because the way I see it, there's 2 forces acting on the human body, and the human body adapts the way you teach it to adapt, right? And you know all of this. And so much of life is here, and then if you're sad and emotional here, it's pulling us in, the shoulders round, the thoracic rounds, and so we end up in that thing. And if you see, a poor old 80-year-old that wasn't doing heart openers, they're leaning over the 4-wheeled walker and they're in that hunched position. So a back bend a day keeps the doctor away kind of thing. It's just that big opening, wrapping the hands back, and it's just like, for me, it's just little bits throughout the day. So it's almost like cat-cow in the seat. That idea that motion is lotion. It's just little bits of movement throughout the day is the big one for me. So the big heart opening back bends one. I think everyone's hips are really tight from a lot of sitting as well, and we tend to hold a lot of tension down through there. So I'd give a pigeon pose or a stretch like that. You can almost do a little pigeon in your seat just by crossing one leg over and opening the hip there. So you can easily do that in sitting. And on that as well, just rolling the shoulders around as well, because obviously we hold all that tension there. And one more, I know you said 3, but intertwined with all of them is mindful breathing, right? So it's like, it's just like, have a little break. It's a 10-second break from this, and it completely changes the way you feel. You've broken up some of that tension. You've relaxed the nervous system down pretty quickly. So a bit of nasal belly breathing, or a deep breath in and kind of sigh it out, or whatever that, and kind of get back to it. And it's such a quick little, pressure release on the nervous system. So they would be my things, and I'm fairly well constantly telling most people to be doing that. Yeah,
they're a couple great ones for mobility. So if you only had 5 strength exercises that you could do for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Yeah, well, you'd have to go push-ups, pull-ups, squats, get a little bit of single leg stuff in there. So like a Bulgarian split squat or that ATG, knees over toes lunge is a really nice one to open up. And I love a handstand, actually. Yeah, it's like you're kind of pushing the ground away, and again counteracting the effect of life and down here. Not that everyone needs to go off and do handstands, but it's that classic, we want to push and pull in this plane, push and pull in that plane. And I think there's 5 in there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Campbell, brother, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, bro. It's been such a pleasure. I have to just quickly say, I said relationships can be hard sometimes, and time with them is the absolute best. We have a lot of good times.
Got to have that caveat in there. We're going to cut that out and we stitch you up.
I made it sound like it can be quite difficult, but there's a lot more good than bad. I can tell you that right now. But you got to. There's light, there's good and bad all the time, so it's part of it all. But
appreciate time,
bro. Brother. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.